Bat family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can find us all over the internet on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. Although I should say, I really have not been going on Twitter, so you can follow us, but there's really nothing happening. Facebook and Instagram, this is where I'm mostly posting things these days. But yeah, just a little friendly word of warning. What else? We're also part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com. If you do love this show, you want to support this show, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. As always, a big thank you to our patrons. You guys rock. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You make it so much easier to keep the show going, and I hope you know that it does not go unappreciated. Y'all are the best, and I just want you to know. As always, I'm Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads. It's always just my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, this episode, it is our little San Diego Comic-Con recap. I don't want to bury the lead, but honestly, this year for DC Comic-Con, not that exciting. I don't know if I should say that right now, but there's stuff, but just nothing like, earth-shattering. But there's stuff, and we're going to talk about that stuff. And joining me to talk about that stuff, you know him, you love him. It's been a minute since he's been on BatCast because he was out doing the hula with his family and with Alice from the Brady Bunch. It's Jamie Drewley. Hi, Jamie.
And now I sit here sad on this Sunday morning because right next to me I have the last of my toasted coconut Kona coffee that I brought.
That's bittersweet, but I love it.
Yeah. So San Diego Comic-Con, I can't remember the last time I was really excited about San Diego Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. Like, of course I have my Facebook memories that pop up and I check those kind of every day. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that. And maybe 2016 was the last one, 17, something like that was the last one that I was like really all like goo about.
Yeah. For because me, I think 2018 was like the bat. Yeah, 2018 I feel like was the last big one because that was when they premiered that really extended Aquaman trailer. So I remember that being really exciting.
Okay.
But I think post that, you're right. Again, there's always stuff and that's great and I'll take it. But yeah, I feel like that was the last time it was really just a huge deal from a DC standpoint.
Well, as DC fans, maybe this isn't a bad thing because we used to get so worked up about Comic-Con and like, we're going to see this, we're going to see this, we're going to see this. And then we'd see nothing.
We'd see one of the 10 things we hope to.
They would make announcements for things that would never come to fruition. So maybe toning it down was probably the right thing to do for our own mental well-being.
Yeah. I mean, I said this to Brendan and because he misses the excitement of Comic-Con, but I'm okay. Part of me misses all of that excitement, but the other part of me is like, well, I'm not going anymore, which is part of it. But also, there's so much else this weekend and we get the stuff eventually anyway. So it's okay. I'm at peace with it. Anyway, we're going to talk about the things that did come out of Comic-Con for DC. Some things that I guess were slightly before Comic-Con because even the week of Comic-Con, we ended up getting stuff before the actual weekend. So we're going to talk about some of that stuff too. Before we do that though, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Yeah, housekeeping. That's the right term. It's really early, guys. And I have my pumpkin coffee, Jamie. So forgive me if my brain is not firing on all cylinders just yet.
Pumpkin coffee won't kick in for me till next month, even though I do still have quite a bit of a giant box from Sam's Club of the Starbucks pumpkin left over from last year.
Well, I always have pumpkin coffee year round. And this morning, because I knew I was going to be talking to you, my pumpkin brother, I was like, okay, that one works. I'll do that. And I don't have delicious toasted coconut coffee from Hawaii, so I have to deal with pumpkin.
Fair enough.
Anyway, the housekeeping item I wanted to address is the fact that you all probably noticed that there was not a new episode last week. And as you all know, as we've discussed on the show, I have a new child coming into the world, into the family in November. So with a current toddler, which is a lot, and a new child coming, I think that just for the sake of my life and balance, the output is not going to be quite as every single week as it used to be. The show's not going anywhere. I'm not quitting. It's just a matter of like every single week gets to be a lot. And just for the sake, again, of making sure I have time to take care of my wife, to take care of my daughter, and very soon to take care of my son, I'm just looking at my podcasting workload, which is pretty out of control, and just making the realistic decision to like find more balance there. So I still have all 4 shows, but I think that the output again is just not going to be quite as aggressive. And I hope that's okay. And I hope you all understand, but it's just a matter of yeah, like realistically looking at everything and going, okay, like I can't keep up this pace forever. And so like Real Fans, we just did a new Real Fans, which was honestly a ton of fun with you and Hunter. But it had been 2 months since we had done Real Fans, and that's okay. You know,
That's
that
pretty
one,
good for Real Fans.
right. That one's always kind of as we feel like it anyway. Why Not Futurama, Disorder, all the above. It's just, yeah, trying to keep all those balls in the air. It's a lot, and I'm impressed I've been able to do it as long as I have, but it can't go on forever. And so I'm just, you know, if we skip a week here and there, or if the show becomes more every other week instead of every single week, I'm okay with that. Again, I'm at peace with that, but I at least wanted to say it out loud for anybody who's listening is like, hey, why is this not happening every Sunday night as we've grown accustomed? That's why.
Well, you have a new one coming in a couple months, and as we record now, I am 19 days away from my daughter's moving out.
That's crazy.
Yes, I believe me, I am all too aware of it.
I want to say congratulations, but I'm also sad for you. If that
Well,
makes sense.
say the congratulations to them, because the way they're posturing up right now, they cannot wait to get out of this house.
Wow. I guess because I know I'm still on the the very front of it. You know, Harley's 2.5. I can't wrap my brain around it. Maybe you are ready, but I'm like, oh, that's so sad. I don't even want to think about that.
Oh, I feel like I'm ready now, but when we move them down there 2 weeks from this coming Friday, it's going to be like,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harley will be graduating any minute now, so you know.
Shut your mouth. I don't like it.
But no, and that family comes first, man. I completely understand it. It's always a good time talking to you and doing the shows and everything, but family first. I mean, that's just how it has to be. So
yeah. And I knew you would understand, you know, more than anyone, honestly, of you know how tricky it can be to juggle all these things. But yeah, I wanted to at least just address it because, yeah, it's just I'm just being very realistic of like we have work to do to prep for the baby, and November is going to be here in a blink.
Yes, sir.
And so yeah, I'm just like, all right. And I even said to Catherine, you know, this was a couple months ago. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to look at how I need to like cut back my podcasting because of the baby. And she looked at me, she goes, I didn't want to say it, but I'm glad you said it. I'm like, no, fair. I'm like, I get it. Trust me, I get it. So again, I'm not going anywhere, but it is what it is.
Right on.
All right. So that being said, let's get to San Diego Comic-Con. Actually, no, let's get to pre-Comic-Con because there are a couple things pre-Comic-Con that I wanted to talk about because it has been 2 weeks and there's been a good trickle of DC stuff. The first one, I guess we'll start and end with big ones, and then we'll fill in the middle with some, you know, not as big. So the first big one that is worth addressing is we got a second trailer for Joker Folie Deux. And I just saw it on the big screen last night for Deadpool and Wolverine. So yeah, there was the teaser trailer and now the full trailer. And the movie is coming again. It'll be here before we know it, October 4th, if I remember correctly. So, and now that I've seen Twisters and Deadpool and Wolverine, my next 2 theater trips are Beetlejuice and Joker. It's not DC, but I want to talk about the Beetlejuice trailer because that looks great. But that's not here. The Joker Folie Deux full trailer. Jamie, did you watch it?
I did. And I was pretty excited for this movie anyway. Lady Gaga, I mean, she is, from the moment that she was announced for this part, I was in orbit because I feel like not only is she a fantastic singer, but she's a wonderful actress. I don't think she gets nearly the credit that she deserves for the talent that she has in that aspect. Mm-hmm. And her playing Harley opposite Joaquin's Joker, I feel like is going to be a really, or at least fingers crossed, I hope it's going to be a really special event. And this movie, it seems strange, the concept. It's always seemed strange, but it's never gotten me put off in any kind of way about it, even though they seem to, thematically, this trailer especially, I feel like feels like a natural sequel to the first, even though the musical element getting mixed in. But I feel like there's going to be a lot more of that fantasy element in this one than we got in the first. It was present in the first, but I feel like they're going to take it to a new level in this one. And this trailer kind of reaffirms that. And I think most of us expected that anyway. So overall, I think the trailer was good. I think the teaser probably excited me a little more than this did, because this didn't offer me a lot more to raise expectations or hopes or excitement than what that first one did. But I still think it was a good trailer, and I'm still very much interested in seeing it. And I'll be there. I won't be there opening night because that's my son's birthday, but I will be there probably opening weekend to check it out.
Yeah. No, I honestly agree with all that. We're very much on the same page. I thought the teaser was great. It really blew me away. And so I was very impressed. And I thought the trailer was good. I didn't think it was as good as the teaser, but it was good. The movie looks beautifully shot, but like you said, that seems very consistent with the first film. Even though I don't love the first film, it's beautifully shot. It's very unique. It has a style. This seems to very much carry on that same style. So it feels very consistent. As you said, for me, the big selling point is Gaga. I just think she's amazing, and she looks to be doing amazing work here. And it really feels like it's going to be an actor showcase between Phoenix and her, of just both of them going for broke, So I think it's a good trailer. I do think it's interesting that the teaser did a nice job of balancing the real world versus that fantastical element with the musical. And I think that was what excited me. And this one really feels a little more hesitant to dip into the musical section.
Yeah, it feels like it backed off of it quite a bit.
Yeah, which I think is odd because it's already out there and it was already part of the teaser. But yeah, this feels much more like it's the real world part of it. And it seems like now they're trying to hide the musical aspect, which again, I'm like, well, it's too late for that. We already know. But
I feel like they took that approach, or at least this is my hope. They're really trying to save it all up for, sitting down and watching the movie. And I'm okay with that, because over marketing has been something that's driven me nuts for eons.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's fair.
If you want to keep things in reserve and let me, see it for myself when I sit down to actually watch it with the bucket of popcorn in my lap, fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. But yes, this one, the first one didn't feel like it wasn't directly related to the first movie, but it did seem tonally a little different in a few parts. And this one feels like it moved that tone back to more of the first movie, as we've already kind of mentioned. And, that's fine. I guess they want people to know, this is still very much this world, and this is what you can expect, more of what you saw in the first. But we know there's going to be those other elements. And, I, for one, I'm really excited to see what they turn out.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting because, it's a very alternate reality version of these characters. I guess her name is Lee, not Harlan. Harlan, that's my daughter. Not Harleen. And, if you watch the trailer, we do learn more about her, and she's certainly not a psychiatrist. She's certainly not the Joker psychiatrist. It seems like she is a fan of his when he kind of lost it in the first one, and that caused her to start committing crimes of her own, and they come together in Arkham, I guess. I thought the one thing I thought was really interesting, and it's not a spoiler, it's right there in the trailer, is in the first film, the big climax is him taking over a talk show. In this one, he seems to take over his own trial. And that feels very exciting and intense. And so that, I think I was like, oh man, like that was kind of scary in a good way, like kind of put me on edge, where I was like, oh my God, I like that aspect. So also, there's the now already iconic shot of her walking up the courtroom stairs in the red. I've got to feel like she's coming to the trial as an observer, and she sort of helps, she helps whatever, lock the doors and turn it into a different kind of trial where he takes over instead of being the one on trial. So those little story aspects we hadn't seen or heard before, but I really like that. I think that's cool. But yeah, so I thought, again, it's a good trailer. Just didn't get me quite as hyped as the teaser, but that's okay. And yeah, it's coming soon. And I think it's still going to be a very big hit, especially with the talent involved.
So I formulated my own potential theory. This is not something I'm necessarily expecting, but I'm certainly not going to be surprised if it happens. And maybe fast forward about a minute and a half to 2 minutes if you don't want to, know what I think, because, this could be just the whole premise of the movie. And that is, this version of the Joker is very much broken to the concept of reality.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I understand they're portraying her more as an Arkham inmate than they are the classic Harley that we know as being the psychiatrist. But that doesn't mean that by the end of the movie, we don't find out that she has been his psychiatrist the whole time, and this is all just playing out in his head. The way that he wants to perceive her.
Yeah.
Just because of how things played out in the first movie, I won't be surprised if that's what happened. But I'm not expecting it. They very much just could be doing their entirely own story. They're certainly not opposed to taking that approach in this particular corner of the universe. But if they do bring it back around in that way, I'm just going to kind of pat myself on the back when I'm sitting in the movie the first time watching it. So.
Well, I mean, and that was true in the first one. I don't think it's spoilery. The first one, he is not a reliable narrator. So at the end of the movie, you kind of have to go back and look and go, okay, what actually happened versus what he thought happened. And I think that makes perfect sense that it would be the same here.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. Well, Joker, Folie Deux, coming October. Exciting. Something that is not coming in October, in fact, it may never come, and this is a little bit of a surprise, but it was nothing you had to watch, is just a little bit of news or update about the Batman Forever Schumacher cut. Did you see this?
I did not.
So, Akiva Goldsman, who was the screenwriter for Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, he did an interview with Collider, and he was asked about the Schumacher cut. And this was actually really interesting. That's why I was like, oh, I should talk about this, because it's actually a real update as opposed to just vague comments. But he said, yes, it does exist. There is a preview called Preview 1. Most of the material that's available is put back together. There's not a lot out there that folks haven't seen that you couldn't cobble together. But he said that after Joel Schumacher passed in 2020, he did talk to Warner Brothers about releasing it. And he said, that was one administration ago. My fantasy was to try and resurrect it as a sort of celebration with Joel after he died. They asked him what it would take to complete the film. He said there's some visual effects that need to be finished. There would be some music that would have to be, if not rescored or rewritten. The whole soup to nuts was about $1 million. But he said
nothing. I mean, that's nothing.
Yeah. In context of everything else, that's really not too bad. He said they were on the verge of doing it, and then Warner got sold again, and there's a whole nother DC. And then when asked about the movie itself, he said it was darker. Bruce was haunted by his past. He felt guilt. It's all the stuff you read. None of that is mysterious. It was a more modern interpretation of the narrative. And what's not dissimilar to those stories that we sort of caught up with now, I've seen it. It was put back together. And then he said, once the new DC world is moving forward, I will bat my eyes with everybody again and see if once more we can answer that. So, that is encouraging, but also a little frustrating, because it sounds like they were close to doing it. And then, the leadership changed again. But I also feel like I gotta believe that James Gunn would be amenable to this.
Of course. And if he truly is in charge of the whole DC plate, which he certainly appears to be, Max needs content all the time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily expect a theatrical release, although we are less than a year away from the 30th anniversary of that film. If they're going to do it, I feel like it's then or never.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I thought this was interesting because, the big question, even when we discussed it on this show, what was it, a month or two ago, is but what would it really cost to finish it? And nobody really knew that until Akiva Goldsman said, it's about $1 million. you know what? As you said, I feel like they would make that back in sales very easily. Release some sort of really awesome all in collector's edition Blu-ray 4K whatever steelbook that has a remaster of the old movie and then the new movie, and yeah, of course we would buy it. So many people would buy it. So I hope that Gunn is paying attention, and like you said and like we have said, the 30th anniversary is right there. This is the time.
I for one really hope it happens, because listening to your conversation about it on the show with I'm sorry, I can't remember the show that you had, the guys that you had on, but
Epic Film guys.
Okay, so that was a great conversation, and it just made me want to see this version of the film.
Yeah, agreed. They really sold me on it when they did it on their show, which is why I wanted them to come visit our show, because I was like, you know what? You got me. It actually does sound like it is worth the time. It's worth the money to finish it up, because we'd love to see it.
I would buy a physical copy of that. I mean, I've got physical copies of every other live action Batman movie that's ever been released, save for the last one. So yeah, I would absolutely buy a collector's version. I would watch it on Max. I would buy a digital copy. I mean, I'd be in on that.
Yeah, agreed.
Pay attention, people. You probably would have got your $1 million just out of me.
Well, again, McFarlane is releasing that line of Batman Forever action figures. They just released the Batman and Robin action figures. They wouldn't be doing it if there aren't enough people to make it worth their while. And so there is a lot of nostalgia and affection for those movies now, especially. So take advantage of it. You like money, don't you? Make a little money while you're at it. Come on.
Sure. Yeah. And I feel like there's been a lot of hype around those McFarlane toys. So there's maybe it's a niche thing more than a mass appeal thing, but I feel like your market and your money is there if they choose to move forward with it. So I would be interested to hear what James Gunn's thoughts are on it, but man, that dude is so busy focused on other things. I can't imagine he has like any kind of zeroed in focus on that.
Yeah, I know. But just because I mentioned it, the McFarlane toys at Comic-Con, they did confirm something that was brought up, I think, on the last episode, is aside from the line of action figures that they're doing, which in theory should start arriving in the next couple weeks, which I am looking forward to, they are releasing the Batmobile with a Michael Goff Alfred figure.
Oh.
And so it's the Forever Batmobile. It lights up. It's very cool. I don't know if I'm going to spring for that, because it also is big and space and all that, but it's very cool. So for anybody who already has ordered the figures and wants the Batmobile to go with it, Comic-Con, it was confirmed, and there are photos. I think there's even video of the lights and everything. So kind of neat, worth mentioning. But as you said, James Gunn's very busy shaping the future of DC Studios and DC in media. And part of that is branding. So he released a video and the new official logo for DC Studios. The video is really short. It's him talking about knowing that when he was taking over DC Studios, he really wanted to work on the identity and make sure that everything was consistent across film, TV, animation, gaming, etc. And he said, I wish I could say that we spent a long time figuring out the logo, but we didn't, because I always knew what it should be. And so we got the release of the new official DC Studios logo, and they have gone back to the classic DC circle with the 4 stars around it and just studios underneath it. And it's simple, it's straightforward, but I'll tell you what, Jamie, I love it.
I would love to contribute more to what you just said, but you literally said everything that I would have said. It is perfect. I am so delighted that they decided to go back to the roots, if you will. So, it's the simplest thing in the world, and I adore it. I'm so glad that logo's back. It was not that I hated all the new logos or anything like that, but man, that's the logo that I know for DC. I grew up with that logo, and I feel like that's the one to just kind of let everybody know we're going back to grassroots, and we're going to do things according to the tradition. And I for one am perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. Well, and he even said, he goes, if you're a DC fan, this is going to look awfully familiar. And sure enough, but it's also perfect. This was the official DC logo from 1977 to 2005. So
That's
it
a
was
long, bloody time.
Yeah, it was the DC logo for a couple of generations. And when they started messing with the DC logo in 2005 and then beyond, I was like, why? Why? It was always such like a weird corporate thing of like, well, we got to be fresh. We got to be new. Let's do a new DC logo. But none of them have really stuck because it wasn't broken. I do think that the current one prior to this most recent change was fine. I didn't dislike it. It was all right. I didn't really like the flap one. I thought that one was kind of odd. But again, you never needed to do it. This screams DC. You know what it is just by looking at it. So this is one where like common sense has prevailed and they just went back to something that we all can recognize.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I do want to address regarding the video of James Gunn talking about this that you sent to me, there's two possibilities here. I think there's one less likely, and I think there's one more likely. The less likely one is James Gunn is one hell of an actor. The more likely one is his passion for what he's doing comes out. So, I mean, what is this video? 90 seconds? Not even 90 seconds? And his passion from beginning to end of what he's out there saying, his inflections, his movement, his tones, everything tells me we've kept the right guy for this job.
I know. And that's why I sent you that video, because the video has no real content. It's just him talking about the logo. But as you said, the passion is so clearly there that when you listen to him just talk about the logo, you're like, makes you feel good as a DC fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be, and this is no disrespect to Zack Snyder and the universe that he created, built, started. I love those movies. There's very few of those movies that I don't really actually love. I mean, I at least like all but maybe one, and I still haven't revisited that one. Oddly, that's the one James Gunn did. But, at any rate,
it's good that you said that out loud before anyone else does.
Yeah, I just
own it.
I do. I own it. My history with James Gunn is speckled with some interesting thoughts, but I still feel like he's the right guy for this job. But anyway, I love those movies. I love Snyder's movies. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I just have that feeling that this new universe is going to be way less experimental and much more familiar. And at this point, I feel like that's the direction that this studio needs. They need more traditional and less experimental.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's like I said on the X-Men Real Fans. I'm like, just give us what we love so we can love it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying don't put any, fresh ideas or anything.
Of course,
don't recycle everything that we've seen in the traditional sense for, 50 years in movies, but at the same time, don't overdo Easter eggs and winks and nudges and all that stuff, but give us the more traditional looks. The Superman costume has been discussed on the show a couple times now. It's not like exactly a Reeve costume. It's not exactly a New 52 costume. It seems like it's a pretty nice blend of those two.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm excited to see what all these characters are going to look like. I'm excited to see how they're going to act, how they're going to interact. I just feel like all of this is leading up to what you and I especially have been asking for, and that is more of that comic booky feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, interesting tidbit here about the logo is that it will premiere on the big screen with Superman, which is now less than a year away. And it'll be a motion version. It says it will see Superman busting out of chains before turning into the DC Bullet. So that's kind of fun. But we're already seeing it in some promotional material because it was right there at the front of the teaser for Creature Commandos.
Mm-hmm.
So we now have a first Creature Commandos teaser/trailer. I mean, it's short, which I guess makes it a teaser, but it shows way more than I feared, which I think makes it more of a trailer. But call it what you will. We have our first look of Creature Commandos right there with the new DC logo. As long as we're talking about that and James Gunn's workload, he is wrapping on Superman this week, but apparently he's going right into Peacemaker to continue to help that. Did you happen to see who's going to be popping up in Peacemaker?
I think you guys said Blue Beetle was going to show up, didn't you?
No, that was just speculation. I don't know if that's not actually confirmed or anything. No, someone from Suicide Squad. And I don't think it's a spoiler because they announced it. Joel Kinnaman.
Oh, Flag. Okay.
Yeah. So I wonder if it's going to be sort of like a flashback thing where he's haunted by what he did to Rick Flag, or maybe Rick Flag is back, or, if this is part of the new universe, they could be correcting the timeline and then Rick Flag's not dead. I don't know. There are multiple options, but I kind of like that because Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag, honestly, in both movies was a surprise to me that I really liked him. I liked him in both movies. So I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I have no opposition to that. I guess the Blue Beetle thing, he's going to do a voice in an animated show.
So he's getting his own animated show.
Oh, shows you how well I pay attention when I'm listening. Driving around my car.
Yeah, so it's still in development. We don't know when, but yes, Blue Beetle is getting his own animated show, and it is presumed it will be the same cast as the movie, including Zolo Maridueña, but we don't have a timeline for it yet. We just know that it's in development.
Okay.
But that's exciting too. I'm looking forward to that. But before we get to that, we're going to have our first new DC Studios animated series, and that is Creature Commandos. So we got the teaser/trailer right there at the top. We got Viola Davis back as Amanda Waller. I love that. I think she's just so good. Again, it's real short, minute and a half, minute, 20 seconds. But what'd you think?
So I feel like there's a very strong blend of two things that we're already familiar with and these universes coming together, and that is Suicide Squad and the Harley Quinn animated show.
Yeah.
Which neither one of those, coming into it would have raised my excitement level for it. But then I remembered how much I didn't think I was going to like the Harley Quinn show and how much I really do like the Harley Quinn show. So I don't feel like it'll be quite that satirical, but tonally it kind of feels that same way. It's definitely a mature audiences thing. They're definitely playing on a comical element in certain points. So I'm really in, okay, I'm going to give this a shot and we'll see where we go mode. Then I am, hell yes, let's get this thing yesterday. But I didn't mind what I saw. I'm not doing backflips over it, but I think it looks like it could be interesting.
All right. Sorry, I am sending you something. They've already released the in-motion DC Studios logo.
Okay.
I think they just released it. So sorry, we're going to pause on Creature Commandos just because it's just random that they just put this out there. And it is what we said, except what I didn't expect is it is like a illustration of like very, very classic old school Superman busting out of chains. And then it flips over, the circle flips over and it becomes the DC Studios logo. So that's very fun. It's just, I didn't expect it to be so like golden age, but it's cool.
So if I may,
you may.
That's gorgeous, and I love it.
All right. Great. Sorry. Breaking news, guys. As for Creature Commandos, I think the teaser is really good. I really love the animation. I love the look at it. I think you nailed it as far as the tone of everything, as it feels very much like a cross between those two things of Harley Quinn and Suicide Squad. And it very much feels in the vein of the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn version, especially with Waller, but it seems like it picks right up. It's almost a spiritual sequel to that of being like, oh, we're not allowed to use humans anymore. But fortunately, these guys aren't human. So it's not Task Force X anymore. It's Task Force M for Monster. But I think the animation is good. I really love the collection of weirdo monster characters. I'm a little bummed there's no werewolf in there. because there are other versions of Creature Commandos that do have a werewolf, but that's just me and my werewolf love.
They're holding that back for season 2.
Maybe. But aside from that, like, I think the animation is really good. The designs are really good. I am also impressed that the designs are so faithful and consistent with the image we got when they first announced this show over a year ago. Like, I always thought that was just like a comic book panel that they were using until they actually had artwork, and maybe it is, but when you look at it, you go, oh, no, that's exactly how everybody looks. Like you, the only thing that I don't love is like the swearing and making it a little too adult. But like you said, we felt the same way about Harley Quinn, and we ended up loving that show. So it's not like a big deal, but I just was like, oh, I don't know if I need it. I don't know if I need the R-rated version of Creature Commandos, but I'll get over it because everything else looks so cool that I'm sure it's fine.
I would be way more disappointed if that was a live action thing than an animated thing doing that. Because even though it may be tied to the universe, and this is kind of sort of technically the kickoff for the new universe, you can always take an animated thing and, put it in its own box and let it be its own thing.
Right. Yeah.
But, if I'm watching a trailer live action and the bride's giving people the finger and everybody's dropping these swear words and all that stuff, I probably would be a lot more tense about it than I am.
Yeah. And it just feels, like you said, very James Gunn, especially his Suicide Squad and by extension Guardians, but really Suicide Squad, because it has that exact same attitude.
Sure.
Yeah. So when I watched this, then it linked me to the Kite Man trailer, and we don't have to go into great detail, but it's worth mentioning because I was like, oh, and they released a Kite Man trailer, and I watched it and I was like, oh, that's fun. That's funny. And that's coming really soon, like next week. And I was messaging with our pal Joe from The Fire Rises, and he's like, dude, that's been out for a few weeks. I'm like, oh, I missed it. So I thought it was a new release, like for Comic-Con, and no, the Kite Man trailer is a few weeks old. It looks fun. It very much is consistent with Harley Quinn, as it should be, because it's a spinoff. I appreciate that it seems like Bane will play a big part, because Bane is one of my favorite things about the Harley Quinn show. But yeah, it's worth mentioning that too, because we never really covered it on the show. But I think they must have released this when they announced like the release date, and they had a poster and everything. I just hadn't watched it because I guess I'm a slacker.
I think I saw it on HBO Max. I think I was flipping around looking for the new episode of House of the Dragon, and they were like, here's the upcoming Kite Man Hell Yeah show. And I was like, what is this? So I clicked on it to see if it was, like the show was already available to put it on my watch list, and I watched the trailer. I'm almost sure that's where I saw it.
That makes sense. But again, that's coming next week. So we got Kite Man coming imminently, and then Creature Commandos not until December. But something else that's coming very soon, in a matter of another week. What's today? Oh my God, no, in a matter of like 3 days. Holy crap. And like on August 1st, we get Batman Caped Crusader. Where did July go? I just looked at the date and I was like, yeah, a couple weeks. Nope. It is, as we're recording it is July 28th. So in 3 days, we're going to see Batman Caped Crusader on Prime. And so in the lead up to the release of Batman Caped Crusader, we've gotten some stuff. We talked about the trailer relatively recently, but now we've gotten a couple clips. We also have gotten a reveal of the Penguin. So let's start with the clip I sent you. And I think this was released for Comic-Con because they did do a panel, and it is a clip of Batman investigating. He's like going through some files, and then he ends up interrogating some bad guy, some thug, by hanging him down off a building in front of a train. And we get to hear more of Batman's voice, and we find out that he's after the Penguin, but we don't see the Penguin in the clip. We then got a photo of the Penguin a few hours later, a day later, I don't know. So the clip, what'd you think of the clip of Batman Caped Crusader?
So I haven't watched any of the trailers. I haven't really paid much attention to the marketing. I know they've, people in the Real Fans group have thrown out a couple images or things like that about it, and I've just kind of casually looked over them as I'm scrolling through the threads. I don't have a tremendous excitement level for this show. I'm still kind of disappointed that it's a Prime release instead of a Max or something like that, but that's more of being a nitpicky thing than what the actual show is. Uh, the clip that you sent me, I freaking loved it because it's doing the things with Batman that I enjoy, and that is terrorizing criminals to get what he wants.
Yeah.
Batman dangling somebody off of a building with his grappling ropes and making these threats, and they don't know he's not going to kill them. They feel like they're in imminent danger. He's got this dude dangled down in front of an elevated train, and I'm just like, hell yeah, that's Batman right there. So I loved what I saw in this clip, and honestly, I have no idea who's even voicing Batman in this, but I'm liking what I'm hearing out of the voice.
That is Hamish Linklater.
Not a name I'm familiar with.
That makes sense. Did you watch Midnight Mass?
No.
He's the lead in Midnight Mass. He's been in some other things as well. And when they announced like the voice cast, and I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat myself. When they did that, he narrated the voice cast video, and I was a little worried because I didn't love the voice. But then in the trailer, and then now in this clip, I really like the voice. I think it really works. So I don't know if it was just because he was reading names, there was something missing. But when he's actually voicing Batman in context, I really like it. But yeah, he's a really good actor, and I am liking the voice as well. So, and I am going to just back up almost everything you said there, which is for the show itself, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not like super, super excited because it looks very different. But the trailer certainly piqued my interest, and this clip I really loved too. Like you said, I think the animation looks really good. It's very Batman. I love what he's doing. I like the voice, and so this clip, I was like, okay, all right, I see you. This looks really promising. So I did really like that. There was another clip that came out. I don't know if you had a chance to see because I did not send it to you, so I apologize. But it is a clip with Clayface and Onomatopoeia.
Oh, wow. That's a pull.
Yeah. And it's really quick. It's like a minute, and it's just essentially introducing them both. And I also...
Is Kevin Smith involved with this production somehow?
He is not.
Okay. I'm just wondering because Onomatopoeia was his baby. So
it was his, right? Yeah. But I liked that clip too, I guess is the point I'm getting at. I really liked that creepy version of Clayface, and it feels almost like a hybrid of kind of that classic Clayface where he's more of just a serial killer, but he still seems to be able to have the power of changing his face. He's just not a giant mud monster. So they've kind of found a place in between for him, but I liked that clip too. So I think that the more I'm seeing, the more excited I am getting about the show. I've already sort of made the peace with kind of like the Joker movie where I'm like, it's not traditional. They're doing their own thing. They are making a lot of interesting choices that are very different. And so it's going to be a very unique version of Batman and his world. But just kind of have to accept that and go with it. But again, these clips I think were really good step in the right direction.
Well, I didn't see the one you just mentioned, but again, going back to the one that you sent me, I'm not seeing anything there that puts me off.
Yeah. But speaking of those interesting choices, another reveal happened again. I think it was yesterday. And that is the reveal of the Penguin in Batman Caped Crusader. And it turns out that this version of the Penguin is female. So she is Oswalda Cobblepot, and she is voiced by Minnie Driver. And we got our first photo. She does look very Penguin-esque. She's got the purple and the black and the top hat and the umbrella. She's just a she. So this is an interesting choice. As I was saying, a lot of interesting choices here in this show. How you feeling about our first female Penguin?
I don't know why, but I don't have a strong opposition to it. I'll see what they put in motion with everything as far as the context of the show and, kind of judge it based on that. But, I love Minnie Driver. I think she's fantastic. I've always liked her going way back to like Grosse Pointe Blank and Good Will Hunting and, several other things I've seen her in that I really liked her a lot. So she's a talented actress. So I'm sure she'll bring something good to the voice. It may be one of those head scratcher things why, I have no opposition to inclusiveness and diversity and any of that other stuff, but there's enough female villains in the Batman world. I don't know why they chose this one to switch over, but again, I'm not one of those people that's throwing rotten vegetables at the idea,
Yeah. No, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's just a weird choice. But again, everything that we have seen from this version, there are a lot of interesting choices. They have made it very clear, not by necessarily saying it out loud, but just by everything that we've seen, that they are very much doing an alternate reality version. They're changing a lot of things up. And so this is just another another big choice amongst many other big choices in this series. So yeah, it's one where I'm like, okay, we'll see how it goes. I think it's a little odd. It's a little bizarre, but also, again, there are a lot of odd things that are happening in the show, which is part of, I think, what dampened my enthusiasm. Is I was like, it's not traditional Batman. They're very much doing an Elseworlds thing, and that's fine. It's just, it's just not what I wanted from the show. And this is just another element of that. So interesting, certainly different. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to roll with it because, again, I've already sort of made peace with the fact that they're mixing up a lot of stuff on this show. So why not the Penguin too while they're at it?
Yeah.
What's funny, though, is when they announced the voice cast, Tom Kenny was on there. And we were all like, well, I guess he's going to do Penguin again because he does Penguin for everything. And boy, were we wrong. That is not the case. But I also think that it's kind of like what we said about the Batman animated series from 2004, where we're like, it seemed like they were so set on distancing themselves from Batman the animated series that they took these really drastic changes just to make it super clear that nope, we're not that, we're our own thing. And honestly, this feels the same, where they're like, well, even though we got some of the same creative team as Batman the Animated Series, we're not Batman the Animated Series. We're not doing that. We're doing our own thing, and we're going to prove it because we're going to change everything.
Now, see, you say that, but again, I'm only basing this off the clip that you sent me because that's literally the only thing I've seen other than a couple of still images. If you'd have told me this was just a modernized interpretation of Batman the Animated Series based on this clip, I'd believe you.
Based on the clip, sure. You should watch the trailer.
Okay. So maybe it's like a hybrid between that and Beware the Batman, which to me was just like way out there. But.
Yeah. It seems to be a period piece. Harley Quinn is not silly, and and she's Asian and she wears a gold outfit, and it just seems like they're, again, Clayface, he doesn't really transform. It seems like he can just change his face. Like they're really trying to not do the traditional version of almost anyone.
Why would they not just use Punchline if that was what they were going to do?
Oh.
Because Punchline is Asian. Punchline is far more serious than Harley for anything I've seen her in, which hasn't been a lot. But
yeah.
I don't understand why you just wouldn't move that. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I'll judge it when I actually watch the show, which I will. But
yeah, and again, like the trailer, when we saw the trailer, I was like, you know what? If this was like an Elseworlds movie, I think I'd be more into it than it being the Batman ongoing show because of those differences. But again, I'm willing to go with it because those clips are encouraging. So I don't know. That's just why I'm like, not like, oh my God, everything about it looks amazing, and I wish I was, but I'm more like, interesting. We'll see how this goes.
We'll know in 3 days, I guess.
Indeed. Oswalda. I mean, I'm sure that'll be the next episode of Holy BatCast. So anyway, there you go. Batman Caped Crusader will be out in just a matter of days on August 1st on Prime. But if you're not into Oswalda, there is another Penguin coming to your TV not long after that, and that is Colin Farrell's version of the Penguin from the Batman Epic Crime Saga. Have you heard that phrase yet?
No.
That's the new phrase for the universe of the Batman. It is now the Batman Epic Crime Saga.
Sure, why not?
It's
a horrible name, but I maintain to this day that even though I adore the movie, Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice was a horrible freaking name too. So I'm not going to base it how they decide to title it. I'm going to base it on the actual product.
No, that is fair. But the Penguin is coming in September, and so this was like, I think this was the big finale for DC at Comic-Con, is they did a Penguin panel in Hall H. It was funny because yesterday is when it was happening, and I just kept checking. I'm like, wow, is like nothing come out of this Penguin panel? But it was like in the evening, so I think by the time they did it, I was already in the movie theater watching Deadpool. But really, we just got another new trailer for the series. This one, 2.5 minutes, so full trailer. And I think this is now the third trailer. We got that first tease, then we got a second trailer a few weeks ago, and then now this one. I assume this will be the final one before the series is released on September 19th. So, how you feeling about this trailer, Jamie?
Well, I don't know if I saw the one that was just released last night, to be honest with you. Because you said Penguin trailer, and I was like, oh, we're going to talk about the Penguin trailer that released a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, no.
So, my bad.
Do you want to pause so you can watch it?
Sure, why not?
All right. Well, everybody, hang tight. Jamie's going to watch the trailer. All right. And now we're all caught up, and Jamie has seen the new trailer.
I turned in my assignment late, so knock a point off of my grade for this one.
That's okay. But here's the fun thing. We get real-time reaction because you literally just watched it.
I literally just finished it 10 seconds ago. So, wow, that was all the stuff I've seen in the marketing leading up to this. My excitement, which is definitely present for this because I love Colin Farrell. And, again, the Penguin was maybe my biggest high point in the Matt Reeves Batman movie. All of the excitement is just strictly based on that. Like everything I've seen, I didn't find anything off-putting, but I also didn't find anything super exhilarating. Sophia Falcone getting involved, I find her to be an interesting enough character based on stuff that I've read her in. But I was interested in seeing where they went with her. This one releasing a lot more detail, if you will. This really makes me interested in this show even more so than I already was. I think that was a good trailer. I think there's a lot of things that, that's the first time I've seen most of what they're offering in this trailer. This looks like it's going to be a very intriguing, very entertaining show.
All right, cool.
I also had no idea Clancy Brown was in it, so I'm all for that. Well, anything Clancy Brown does is A-okay.
Jamie, I got something to say.
Yeah.
It's better to burn out than to fade away.
Yeah. Feels like a lot of Sopranos influence in this too, which I'm also not opposed to that.
Yeah, that certainly feels correct. I thought for me, the most interesting thing, the thing that popped the most was Sophia Falcone. We knew she was in it. We already knew the casting. I can't remember if we really got, though, a lot of her in the last two trailers. And Kristen Milioti seems to really be giving an excellent performance along with Colin Farrell. So I feel like the acting, especially from the two of them, and then to your point, Clancy Brown as well. There's also a lot of other great actors in this. That popped, I think she looks very intimidating, and I think she could be a real breakout from the show. As for the show itself, it kind of looks like more of the same to me. It's not, like you often say, not everything is made for you. Not everything is made for me. I just don't think this is made for me. It's just, I'm just not feeling it. It just,
I never have taken you to be the kind that would be super into like a mob crime drama sort of a thing, like a Sopranos or, Goodfellas or anything along those lines. I'm not saying you don't like them. I'm just saying I never hear you talk about them. So I just never feel like that's your bag. Me personally, I love that shit. I'll watch as much of it as you want to throw at me. That's good quality content.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. And you're right. I never watched The Sopranos. I've seen it.
Oh, you really should watch it.
I've heard that. I've seen a couple of Scorsese crime movies, and I really like those, but I've seen them once each. So yeah, you're right. It's not really my genre. So that's fair enough. That like if you're into that genre, this show is probably for you. I'm into Batman and the Penguin, and this doesn't really feel like that. So it just doesn't do much for me.
Yeah, I do feel like, and that's there was a teaser and 2 trailers, I think. I don't feel like Batman's name is even mentioned in any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And why you're trying to distance yourself from something that you're trying so hard to be a part of doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But at the same time, you're trying to tell this story. You're not trying to tell Batman's story. So I'm kind of two minds about this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I said for the last trailer, I was like, if they didn't call him Oswald, there is nothing in this that would make me know it is a Batman-centric show.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, for everybody who's psyched and this is their thing, then great, you're getting it in about a month and a half. I will still probably watch it. I just can't muster that much excitement for it.
Okay.
So anyway,
I'll be excited enough for both of us based on that trailer.
That's great. You do that. That's all you. And again, there are a lot of other people out there who are super psyched for it. So y'all, this one's for you. Enjoy. That's September 19th, The Penguin on HBO and then by extension Max. So I imagine this will be week to week. I feel like Cape Crusader, they said they're going to drop all of season 1 on the 1st, but I feel like The Penguin is probably going to be week to week.
These streaming services really need to get their shit together with how they're dropping stuff. It's like they just released the final season of Cobra Kai on Netflix. And
it's only the first 5 episodes.
Yeah, it's 5 episodes.
Yeah.
And then there's like 5 more episodes dropping. And then there's like 5 more episodes dropping next year. It's like, just drop it all or don't, you know. I don't know why we got to space it out. They did that with the last season of Stranger Things and it drove me nuts.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, I get you want people to come back. You don't want people getting that, 1 month subscription, binging it, and then dropping the subscription. I understand the business angle of it, but as, an actual viewer, that crap drives me crazy.
Yeah.
If you want to do a show week to week, like, The Boys, but even they drop like 2 or 3 episodes sometimes. So I don't know. There's no real rhyme or reason to it anymore. Have you been watching The Bear on Hulu at all?
No.
Okay, that's another really good show, but it'll raise your blood pressure every single episode. My wife loves the show, but even my wife will say, I cannot handle watching more than 1 episode of this show in a sitting. But the point I'm making here is they dropped I think there's 8 episodes. They dropped all 8 in one day. So you could binge it if you want to, but I guess they figure people can't handle watching more than 1 episode of this show. So it'll be there when they're ready, but we're not going to space it out week to week.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because I don't even know if it means anything when they decide to drop them all versus week to week. I don't know if there's any reading the tea leaves where it means something about the show. I just don't know.
I suppose it depends on the service, but like in the case of The Bear, I think it's one of Hulu's highest rated shows. So
yeah,
I can't imagine it means, we're dumping this and we don't want anything to do with it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm curious. Cause you're right. Like The Boys, they go week to week. Like you said, for the premiere, they drop 2 episodes, but then they go week to week, but then for The Bear, they drop them all. And I don't know if well, wait, those are 2 different services, but regardless, I don't know if it means anything. So my hunch is it doesn't. It's whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I guess.
So anyway, yeah, interesting. Well, The Penguin, September 19th. Again, my hunch is it will be week to week, especially since it is going to be on HBO first before it is on Max.
Yeah, so if it's an HBO proper series, then definitely it will be week to week.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention that I thought was interesting, it seems like a big thread of this show is Oswald's relationship with that younger man as like a protege.
That's going to be interesting because I don't know if that's a new character or if that's somebody I should know. Or
yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the character's name even is. But like there was a lot of them talking to each other in this, and then he's like, I can help you or whatever. And so I was like, so I wonder how much of that is really the crux of the show is the Penguin trying to take over the city, but also teaching this young kid, what it's like to be a mobster in Gotham.
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but the vibe I got from that, Bronx Tale.
I've never seen that.
That's also a very good film. You should watch that.
All right. Well, that is The Penguin. And again, that was sort of the last big finale for DC news at San Diego Comic-Con. So again, kind of not nothing for Comic-Con, but a bit muted as far as like excitement. No massive trailer or anything. It was really, Creature Commandos, a logo, clip for Cape Crusader and a new trailer for the Penguin. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So, well, it's not nothing, but it's certainly not earth shattering either. But I think that's all the big stuff.
The disheartening thing is no major new announcements, no Superman footage. The
Yeah.
plus side is, since there is no major new announcements, we know that nothing that they talked about isn't going to get released.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was Peter Safran. They asked him about like, oh, why not premiere some footage of Superman at Comic-Con? And I think he said something, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it up, but something to the effect of like, we're still a year out. We feel that it is better to start releasing that stuff closer to release than all the way now. Basically, he's like, it'll be more successful, a more concentrated marketing campaign as we lead up to the film, or something like that, which makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
they're just wrapping production now. Sure, could they have rushed to put together some footage or a little teaser? They could have, but that will be just as exciting when they do release it. They don't really need Comic-Con for that.
Yeah, that's true. I would, we're talking about next July 11th or something like that.
Yeah, July 11th.
Okay. So roughly a year out, I would expect a trailer by Christmas.
That's fair. Sorry, just because you reminded me, on a recent episode, I was like, why don't you move Superman to 4th of July weekend? Why don't you? What's wrong with y'all? Guess what's coming out 4th of July weekend? I was like, obviously something else has to be coming out, because that's the only reason they wouldn't put it there. And I did a little digging to try and figure out what was coming out 4th of July weekend next year. And it's something I'm looking forward to just as much, for what it's worth. The new Jurassic World movie.
I completely forgot there was even one coming.
Yeah, I think they're already in production. They have to be. It's less than a year away. Which I will be very impressed if they make their release date, because that was a tight schedule, but we shall see. But yeah, they're in production now. But yeah, I think that like Universal Studios they've been really happy with the 4th of July weekend. It's usually where they release something animated, like this year was Despicable Me 18 or whatever. But next year I was like, are they releasing another animated movie? And I did some looking, and I was like, oh, actually Jurassic. So if they make the release date, that makes me feel a little better about having to wait a whole extra week for Superman. But again, I will be very impressed if they manage to make that release date. Ooh, that's so tight.
That is, especially for a movie of presumably that scale,
Right. Well, you know who's directing it, right?
No, I read, but I don't remember.
Your pal, Gareth Edwards.
Oh, I like that guy.
So it probably won't take that long to shoot a couple like TVs with footage of dinosaurs on them.
That was uncalled for.
I'm sorry. Well, we're going to discuss more of that stuff as it comes, but now it's time to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
Just got a couple here, Jamie. Pretty quick, pretty easy. This first email here is from Dennis. It says, greetings from Bangor, Maine. This afternoon, I grabbed a DVD set of Beware the Batman at my local comic collectible shop. Beware the Batman was a short-lived series produced by Cartoon Network in 2013 and 2014 I had never heard of. I have yet to pop a disc into my PlayStation, but it looks different. The 3D CGI animation just screams 2000s Cartoon Network and almost reminds me of the show's reboot or Max Steel. I'm psyched to check it out as soon as I get a few minutes, but was this thing any good? Well, funny, you brought that up earlier, Jamie.
Yeah. I think I watched maybe one episode of that when it was first airing, and I didn't find anything offensive about it, but I also didn't find anything in it that like hooked me.
Mm-hmm.
Like they, again, as you were talking about with Cape Crusader, they very much were creating their own world of Batman with it. Like Katana is essentially Robin. It's very
the hard boiled badass Alfred instead of the more traditional Butler.
Yeah, it's definitely, SAS Alfred or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I call them Jason Statham Alfred because that's what he felt like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was okay. There were some things I liked about it. Specifically, I liked that they did some new versions of some villains that we don't normally see, like Magpie, like Anarchy. I thought that was kind of fun. I never finished the series either. I watched more than you did. I watched the first few episodes until they pulled it, and then they aired the rest in the middle of the night. So I watched it until they pulled it, and then I never finished the ones that happened in the middle of the night. I don't think I own it, though, to be honest. So I heard that as the season went on, it did get better. But yeah, it's all right. It has its fans. There are people who go, oh, it's so underrated, and you should definitely check it out. So, I mean, you already bought it. You're going to check it out. But for me, I thought it was fine. It didn't, didn't love it, didn't hate it. It was okay.
There's only 13 or 14 episodes of it?
I think it's just 13.
Okay. So that's one, of course, you and I do our couple times a week perusing of the digital discount bin, as we call it, over on Apple Movies.
Indeed.
And I buy pretty much all of these old animated series as they go on sale for, deep discounted prices. And this is one I feel like the whole series should be available for $9.99 at some point, and it never has been since I've been shopping through there. So
it should be available for $4.99 at all times. like who's out there paying $20 or $30 for it? Come on.
Not me, which is why I don't have it yet.
Isn't a little money better than no money? But yeah, I agree with you. I feel like that's one that should just be like a bargain at all times, or maybe, like I said, $10. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think I bought Batman, the animated series, Batman Beyond, Superman, the animated series, Justice League Unlimited. And, these are multi-season expansive episode count shows that I paid $20 for. So there's no reason in the world this one should cost more than 10.
Exactly. Agreed.
In fact, if you want to get a little deeper, I bought Voltron, She-Ra, and He-Man all for $10, and they're all well north of 50 episodes.
Hell yeah. I own all those too. They're amazing. But agreed. All right. Well, speaking of digital discount bin, I have bought Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 and Part 2 because they both went on sale for $10. But I now got to wait for Part 3 to go on sale or for it to hit max. But I still haven't watched those.
I haven't heard enough people tell me amazing things about it to make me jump on it. So as I usually do with the multi-part releases like that, I wait for the big version at the end.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I hear it's not very good. And so it's really hard to psych myself up to watch it but I bought it. I spent the money. But yeah, I hear it's not very good. I mean, even Joe Fornerato, who we love, and by his own admission, he goes, don't listen to me. I like everything. Even he didn't love it. Like he was like, it's okay. And I was like, well, if Joe doesn't like it, what does that say for it? It's just not very encouraging.
You know what killed it dead in its tracks for me? Jay Yaw's opinion of it.
Yeah.
Because Jay is generally a really positive guy. Obviously, we talk about Jay a lot. He's a wonderful human being. Cheers, Jay. He tends to really like comic book stuff of all brands and everything else. And he basically said it's a lot like the comic in that I forget how he worded it, but he basically said it's really long and drawn out. But unlike the comic, it's not beautiful to look at. I think was something along those lines, his comment about it. I was like, well, that confirms I'm waiting until, the deluxe combined editions on sale for $7.99 before I buy it.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, same. I saw Jay's review as well. So I was like, oof, that's not great.
And Jay, much like Joe, and Jay's never unfair in any way in either direction, but Jay is generally very positive about most things, especially comic book related things. So for him to make that comment about it, that was kind of enough for me.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about Jay is if he doesn't like something, he usually says nothing. Because
or he's at least very fair about the presentation of what he's saying. He never craps on something. He's just not that kind of guy. But I feel like this was as close as you're going to get was what he said about this.
Yeah. All right. Well, next email here is Stuart from Guernsey. It says, hey guys, it's a non-DC question, but what movie can you think of that was a massive thing at the time, but nobody talks about it anymore? For me, I would say Armageddon. At the time, I remember everyone talking about it. The cinema always had people trying to get tickets. Once it was released on VHS, the rentals were always out, and you couldn't escape that Aerosmith song. Today, I never hear anyone talk about it or even mention it. I never see it pop up in streaming. You hear of so many movies that were events or were very popular, but for me, this is one that's gotten lost in the cracks. So, thanks, Stuart. Interesting. Well, I'll say I just revisited Armageddon last year and I had a great time with it. So I like that one. But you're right. It's not one you hear brought up as much anymore. But Jamie, what about you? Any movies that you can think of that were like a massive event, a huge deal that have sort of just disappeared from the pop culture conversation?
You're not going to like my answer when I get to it, but first let me address the Armageddon thing.
Oh no.
It's become very popular to crap on that movie and say how terrible it is and how unsound the science is and the acting and, just terrible. But let me just go ahead and tell you right now, I love that movie unapologetically. I think it's great. Is it a perfect film? Far from it. Is it scientifically sound? Hell no. But who watches a movie like that for sound science, guys? Come on. Let's get serious here. But the characters are fantastic. And, the premise, as ridiculous as it may be, is just an absolute wonderful time. And that's one of those movies I'll watch every year or two. And every time I watch it, I'm just like, I know I'm supposed to not like this anymore. And it's supposed to be a flaming turd. But, man, I really love this movie. So, yeah, I'm not part of the crap on Armageddon camp.
I don't feel like, to Stuart's point, I feel like it's not talked enough about for people to crap on it anymore. I think that happened like at once upon a time, but I just feel like now it's been long enough that there are those of us who have affection for it and we like it, and then there are others who've just forgotten about it.
It was pretty successful box office wise, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, it was. It was a very big hit, and like you said, I really liked it, and I hadn't revisited it in a while till last year, and then I had a great time with it all over again. So yeah, I like it too, but I haven't seen like any current discourse that talks about how bad it is.
Okay. So I'm just going to equate it as being the cinematic version of Nickelback. They sell 26 billion albums, but I'm the only person who is going to admit to liking them. Okay, guys, whatever. Anyway, back to the original question. Large event movies that were huge that don't really get talked about anymore. Avatar.
Yeah.
I don't feel like anybody really talked about Avatar until Avatar 2 came out. And now I don't feel like anybody's going to talk about either one of those until 2096 when Avatar 3 comes out. I don't get it. Everybody and their mother, except for me, apparently went and saw this 46 times in the theater. But I never hear anybody talk about either one of those movies unless it's one of those things where, like I just said with this one, they want to crap on it because it's the cool thing to do.
Yeah. No, I honestly, I kind of expected that answer. I'm not even the world's biggest Avatar fan. I just think that like it became so cool to kick the shit out of that movie for some reason over the past like 15 years where I was like, guys, it's the biggest movie of all time. And then when everybody was like, nobody's going to go see the second one, I was like, are you sure? You sure about that? And then they went. But also I saw them both in the theater and I have not seen them since. Yeah. But the one that Scotty and I have brought up in the past is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh, I love that movie. Love that movie.
It was all the rage in 1991. It was like, along with T2, it was the movie of the summer after T2. It was huge. But I do feel like, yeah, no one talks about it anymore. It's like, it just kind of went away. And I do think there are a lot like that. Honestly, there are others that are like that, but that's the one that springs to mind where, yeah, it was a huge deal. And then it wasn't.
Yeah. And there are tons like that. I can't even think of another example off the top of my head, but yeah, Robin Hood. I think I saw that in the theater like 3 or 4 times.
Wow. I mean, yeah, again, it was a big deal that summer, but yeah. And again, there are plenty, but they'll come to me after we finish recording. But interesting. Well, how about along with Armageddon, Deep Impact? That one's even more forgotten than Armageddon, and it was a hit. It made money.
I didn't care for that one.
I only saw it the one time in the theater. I thought it was okay, but yeah, I haven't gone back to it.
I give it credit for trying to play it a lot straight because I mean the concept was very much the same as what Armageddon was, but Armageddon is like the summer blockbuster version, and Deep Impact was the more sincere, straight-laced version. And
Yeah.
I guess I just like that more fun element surrounding it, or larger than life element surrounding it, because Deep Impact just didn't do a damn thing for me.
Yeah. All right, last one here is from James. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast crew, I just listened to the episode with Andy and Brendan talking about the Green Lantern series. I vaguely recall James Gunn mentioning the Green Lantern show will inevitably lead to a larger story and villain or villains for future phases. Do you guys remember this? Also, what do you think the chances are of a Batman cameo in the new Superman movie? Could James Gunn already have a Batman cast and just have it super secret until the reveal? I'd also like to recommend a very fun game called Multiverses. It's essentially Super Smash Brothers with WB licensed characters like Bugs Bunny, Batman, Superman, Tom and Jerry, the Iron Giant, Wonder Woman, Shaggy, etc. My son and I love playing it on my days off. Anyway, have a great week. Thanks for giving me something enjoyable to listen to every week while I work outside in this heat wave. James." Thanks, James. Well, hydrate, stay cool, take breaks, go inside. Yeah, it's a hot summer, my friend. So, and happy to keep you company while you're doing it. So, yeah, we were talking about the Lanterns show, Jamie, and I don't remember James Gunn saying anything about leading to a larger story and other villains. I don't remember that. So if I missed that, bad on me. But yeah, I would hope so. But yeah, I don't remember him ever addressing it. How about you, Jamie?
I feel like that seems like it should be the natural approach to a Green Lantern show, because that is such an expansive world of its own in the DC universe. So having two guys, as you guys said, wearing trench coats, investigating a single murder in the Midwest heartland, that doesn't sound particularly lanternish. So, very much my hopes and expectations are that it is a much larger scale show than that, especially as it goes on. But
Yeah,
I don't recall Gunn saying that, but I feel like Gunn knows what he's doing in the realm of the GLC. So I can't imagine that he's like, yes, I want everything to be like this with this show. I don't see that being the case.
Yeah, agreed. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, I don't remember those comments. But again, just sort of implying James Gunn, his sensibilities, and the fact that it is a Green Lantern show, I would hope that's where it's going.
With all the fantastic elements that he's throwing into what appears to be, anyway, with Superman, I can't comprehend that Green Lantern's not going to get that same kind of treatment. It's at some level.
Yeah, agreed. Speaking of Superman, and then by extension, Batman, do you think Batman could pop up in Superman?
Do I think he could? Sure. This is an established universe. Everything's on the ground and running. Does he already have a Batman in mind? Maybe. But my expectation more than anything from that, and I'm not even saying I do expect it, but if it does happen, we're talking about a post-credit where, the credits roll and then Superman comes swooping down from the sky and lands on a rooftop, and you just see a rear profile shot of the cowl with one ear, and it says, "Clark, we need to talk," and then black. Something along those lines would be more what I expect than a full-blown Batman showing up and doing anything.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think the odds are better to get a nod to Batman than for him to actually show up.
Sure. And doing it the way that I said, you don't even have to have the actor set. You just, that you have that piece there. You can have, a indistinguishable voice do it. I mean, you can accomplish all that without having anything in production for Batman or who Batman's going to be or any of that. But if he wants to do that as a surprise, and it's, say, I'm not saying this is who should be Batman, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. Just say it's Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm fine with that. If they put it in there in some capacity. Or, even if Batman is mentioned by name a couple of times throughout the film, and just to kind of establish his reputation, like, he's dark, he's brooding, he's the smartest guy on the team, and we need his help with this at some point. It's that, all that stuff just kind of makes sense to me, as opposed to, a 30-second conversation that happens between face-to-face actors.
Yes. Well, speaking of that, the latest conversation, and this is not James's question, but I'm going to address it anyway. The latest speculation is that Glenn Powell might be our new Batman. And it's, of course, based on, he's now following James Gunn and Andy Muschietti on social media. That's really it. And he's had a big hit with Twisters, which, by the way, have you seen Twisters?
I have seen Twisters.
Oh, good. At least you've seen Twisters. Okay. Did you like it? I hope.
No, I did not.
You did not?
I loved it.
Oh, okay. It's shockingly good. It's so good.
It was an absolute blast.
Yeah.
If this movie would have been released like 15 years ago, I would have already seen it in the theater 3 times.
I mean, Catherine and I had to pay for a babysitter, of course, and we're both like, we really want to see it again. So that says a lot that we're like, maybe we get another babysitter because we really want to see it again. Holy crap. I'm so glad you loved it. I'm sorry to use an overused phrase, but so much better than it had any right to be. It's really damn good.
It was better than my expectations allowed for.
Yeah.
And Glenn Powell, if I may just say,
you may.
I can we just go? I said this in my post in the Real Fans group about it. Can we just all go ahead and agree that he is a bona fide movie star now?
Yes.
I think he's ready. I mean, he was obviously in Top Gun Maverick. I think he was in Scream Queens, which I loved the first season, wasn't wild about the second. I love Twisters. So this cat's really batting pretty high for me. I didn't see that one when he did with Sydney Sweeney because that just didn't look like a movie that I gave.
Did you see Hitman? That's on, I think it's on Netflix.
No, but that's a Richard Linklater film. So please bank. I am going to watch that when I get a chance.
You should. It's great. You should watch that too.
Well, I'm a huge Richard Linklater fan. He's one of those directors. If his name's on it, I'm watching it no matter what. So yeah, I'm all in on Glenn Powell at this point. So if he's going to be back, you know what I was thinking as I was watching Twisters? There's your Booster Gold.
Yeah.
Because he just has that cheeky kind of personality. And I'm not saying he's not a multi-layered actor where he can, get in on something else like a Batman or something like that, which he's already been in a Batman movie, by the way. You do know about that, right? Of course. Because I was like 3 weeks ago old when I found out that was him in that scene.
No, I already knew that, but when I realized it was when I was watching Scream Queens. So before he really was Glenn Powell, I was watching Scream Queens, and then I watched Dark Knight Rises. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's the guy from Scream Queens. But
I had no idea. It was like a reel on Facebook Reels that I saw. I was like, what? Glenn Powell's in The Dark Knight Rises? Huh? And I watched it, and I'm like, I never knew that was him.
But I am very amused by the fact that people are like, did you know Glenn Powell had a cameo in The Dark Knight Rises? Like, no, he didn't have a cameo. He had a small role because he was still an actor just trying to find jobs. It wasn't a cameo. He wasn't famous yet. He just managed to book a small speaking role in the movie. Anyway, I agree. Here's the thing. Glenn Powell, so good. Leading up to Twisters, the question was, is he a movie star? Now that Twisters has come out and exceeded expectations, both as far as just perception and box office, it's done very well. It's like, yes, he's a movie star. We all agree. I've seen the calls for he would make a great Booster Gold. Agreed. He would make a great Hal Jordan. Agreed. Now that he is such a big movie star, could he make a great Batman? Yes. So honestly, I'm good with any of those options. But at this point, like now that he has risen the way he has, it almost feels like a waste to have him be someone like Booster Gold. Less so for Hal, but because Hal's an HBO series, it's like, well, no, you want this guy on the big screen. And so the Batman stuff, obviously, still very much up in the air. But if that were to pan out, I'd be all for it.
Even if he was like the new Aquaman, I'd be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he looks like a comic book come to life, superhero physique and, pretty looks and great smile and all that other stuff. So yeah, I feel like pretty much throw a big pile out on the table and say, Glenn, which one of these would you like to be? And if he picks Batman, I'm for it. If he picks Aquaman, I'm for it. Booster Gold, for it. I'm Hal. I think he'd be perfect for Hal Jordan because he's got that just naturally cocky persona that comes off, which is very much a Hal trait. So I'm all in on any of those. Whatever you want to let him do, I'm pretty much okay with it.
Well, same. And I think that right now he does get his pick. He can be whatever he wants. And I just hope DC scoops him up before Marvel does.
Well, he's Twisters is a Warner Brother movie, right?
It's a Universal movie.
Oh, okay.
But it is a co-production with WB, but this one it's essentially a Universal film, but because they were co-producers on the original, WB still had to like be involved, but my understanding is their involvement was minimal.
Okay.
But regardless, he's not maybe he is following Kevin Feige. I don't know if he is, but he is following James Gunn, so hey, it's at least a step in the right direction.
Maybe he just likes James Gunn. We don't know. Let's not read too much into this, but again, whatever. If you want to make him the new Captain America, shit, sign me up for that too. I don't care.
Yeah. All right. Well, and then finally, Multiverses. I have not played it. I am familiar with it because we've talked about it on this show when it was coming out. But yeah, I haven't gotten around to it. It does look very fun, though. I love the random selection of characters. I think it's cool. All right, that is it for the Wayne Manor mailbox. If you've got something for us, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. But let's wrap it up, Jamie. Thanks for spending another Sunday morning with me talking geek stuff.
Sure, man. It was a good time. I got to see some cool clips that I probably wouldn't have watched if you hadn't say, here, watch these for the show.
I'm trying to keep you in the loop. I'm doing my best.
I'm trying to avoid the loop, but obviously doing the show with you, it's hard to do at times. So
yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah. Anywhere else that people can find you?
Letterboxd, Real Fans groups on Facebook. Other than that, I'm pretty quiet these days.
Yep, fair enough. Like I said at the beginning, me, you, and Hunter just got together a couple days ago to talk about all 13 X-Men films leading up to Deadpool and Wolverine. That is on the Real Fans for Real Movies show. So if you guys are up for some X-Men talk, it was a lot of fun. Our opinions were all over the place. But again, I think that was sort of the fun of it is, these movies have their champions, they have their detractors, and not everybody agrees on what are the good ones and what are the bad ones. And we kind of covered all bases on that show. So that was a lot of fun. So if anybody else out there, if you want to take a break from Batman, I don't know why you would, but if you want to hear us talk about X-Men, check out Real Fans for Real Movies. It's a long one, but it was a good time. And for what it's worth, I also had a blast with Deadpool and Wolverine. So it's been a good couple weeks at the movies with Twisters and Deadpool. I enjoyed both, so it's good times. But that will do it for this episode of Holy BatCast. Thanks as always for joining us. If you love the show, something else you can do to support us that doesn't cost a penny, just rate and review us. A 5-star review goes a long way and it would mean a lot. So if you love the show, please do that. Just takes a second of your day and it does help us out. Again, find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address again is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And that will do it. So on behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
All right, so now that we got all this Batman-related stuff out of the way, that Beetlejuice trailer, dude.
So good. So damn good.